Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review for Dune, which is currently just come out of the cinema. Directed by Denis Villeneuve and starring a whole host of real grade A talent when it comes to Hollywood actors. Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, who's fantastic in this, I gotta say. Loads of people. Villeneuve is one of those directors now who's become such a name in Hollywood, very much like Nolan to some degree, that actors flock to him. Everybody wants to work with him, and on the strength of this film, it is really not hard to see why. Now, I've said in the past that my thoughts on the 1980s Dune by David Lynch, I'm not that big on it. I've tried to watch it 3 times now and I've fallen asleep all 3 times. It is a film that bores me to tears. I probably wouldn't have been as interested in this film had it not been for Villeneuve's name being attached. What he did with Blade Runner 2049 just blew my mind, blew me away. It's in my top 10 movies of all time now. So because of that alone, this film was my most anticipated movie of the year. My expectations were met. If you imagine what Blade Runner 2049 is, but within the Dune world, that's what you get. That's what I was hoping for. That's what I got. I won't go into depths about the story because it's actually pretty hard to kind of sum up within a few paragraphs. Suffice to say, Timothée Chalamet's character, who's the central character, he's caught up within a political kind of struggle. It's about the politics of what is going on with these particular people, these 2 different peoples, and their running of a particular planet, which has a 3rd group of peoples kind of sandwiched in the middle. So Paul Atreides, the Chalamet character, he's really caught up in all that and has to decide what kind of a man he's going to be. There's a very important piece of dialogue towards the beginning of the film, which is this something that Oscar Isaac's character says, that the father of Paul Atreides says to his son, which is essentially that, look, great men don't choose to be great men. Leaders don't choose to be leaders. It's kind of thrust upon them. Greatness is thrust upon them, and really, it's not something they've sought out. And he essentially says that, look, whatever you do in this life, you've already done enough as far as I'm concerned, just by being my son. And yet, on the flip side of that, you've got his mother, who basically tells him that he has this destiny. And there's a whole load of stuff wrapped up in that, but essentially he's got this destiny. And really the film is all about Paul grappling with that, with who he's going to choose to be. And he has visions, he sees things, he sees visions of the future even. And I think the biggest question that comes out of it for me is, if you could see the path that is laid out before you, if you knew that you were heading to greatness, if the things that were being spoken about you are true and you can even see them and the path that's laid out, how you're going to get there, would you choose to still follow that path? And would going the other way change your ultimate course? Or are you destined to go there regardless of the choices you make? So in that regard, it is a film about destiny versus free will versus fate versus all that kind of stuff. All seen through the eyes of this main character played by Timothée Chalamet, who does a great job of kind of playing this man who really has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and just wants to be a good person above all else. Now, I must say, I've never read the books upon which this is based. I've got a couple of friends who have, and they really love, particularly the first book. They say they kind of trail off the more they go on. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case with the films. I'm hoping really hoping right now that this film gets a sequel. Going into this, you need to understand this is not a complete film. This is part one. Now, they haven't kind of promoted that all that much, so there may be a lot of people who get to the end of this and think, what? What's that? What? So prepare yourself for that. But if you don't come out of this and have the same kind of reaction that people had to Fellowship of the Ring when they came out of that, where you desperately wanted to see what was coming next, then I struggle to believe that you have a love for cinema. I don't know, that's an inflammatory comment. It is all subjective. I get it. There will be people out there that don't like this, but you're nuts, quite frankly. So everything about this film for me was just on point. The action was beautifully crafted, beautifully orchestrated and shot. Hans Zimmer's score is absolutely fantastic as well. It is intrusive at times, but intentionally so. A kind of very similar score to what he did with Benjamin Wallfisch for Blade Runner 2049. But I think the times when he's intrusive with that score, it's very intentional. And there are times when, I've heard some people criticise the score for that very reason, that even there are times during dialogue where it's kind of overtaking the dialogue, and there are certain times when I don't mind that, and not just the score but just the audio of everything else, the ambient sound, so to speak. There's a particular moment when Paul Atreides and his father come down to this planet that they've been sent to kind of take over, essentially, and you can't really hear. You can hear them, but it's very hard to hear what's being said as they talk to each other, to the people that they're meeting up with. But in all seriousness, that's how it would be, because they're surrounded by thousands of people, soldiers. They're on a planet that is very harsh conditions, and it's just like, I don't know. To me, it didn't really matter so much what was being said in that moment as it was the environment they were in, the fact that you felt like you could almost taste the air. I think what Villeneuve does in this film is world building at its finest. I really get taken to this other world through this film. The lore that is built up, there's a lot of stuff sometimes where you don't quite get it. You don't quite get what's going on, but they do enough to make you say, this is real. It's textural. It feels visceral. It feels like, 300 years from now, whatever, this could be very real. I don't need every single thing explaining to me with regards to how the mechanics of how the world works. Although they do go some way to doing a good job of that. I just need to feel like what we're seeing is real. The technology is real. That it's functional. And I never for one moment kind of sit there thinking, yeah, that's a bit too sci-fi, innit? It's not really functional. It wouldn't really work like that. But all the ships, the machinery, the way the plants work that they go to, the costumes, the way they work with kind of recycling the body water and things like that. It's just, it's. I never question that stuff for a moment, and that's down to the way that it's been written, directed, shot, acted, everything. It's just, it's absolutely masterful. It's brilliant. There's some really great moments in here as well that really relate to modern times, to the world we live in, and just thinking about borders and different people groups. There's one particular moment where one person from the desert tribe comes to meet the Atreides, and they're kind of negotiating, and then at one moment he spits at them. He spits on the floor at them, and Josh Brolin's character, he's this kind of security man. He pulls a sword because as if he's this guy's just offended them. When actually in his culture, being that he's from a desert people, to spit out like that, to waste the water from your mouth, is a sign of respect, because you're sacrificing that moisture that you just don't do that when you live in a desert. You need to keep hold of every last drop of water that you've got. So this, spitting at the floor is actually a mark of respect, a sign of respect. And I just think, it's just such a brilliant way of highlighting a very real world thing in which, if you go back through the annals of history, wars have been started because of things like that, where something has been misinterpreted, and like what works in one culture or what means one thing in one culture means something else in another. So there's loads of little touches like that just build this world up and make it very believable. I really love the relationship between the Atreides, more so the father and son. I think because the mother has these other kind of agendas that are tied to like her religious beliefs, her faith beliefs, that makes her come across sometimes as a bit cold. Though I do think Rebecca Ferguson does a very good job of showing us that this isn't a cold person, that she does love her son and wants the best for him. It's just that because we know she's got certain other agendas there, it's harder to warm to her in the same way as it is towards, say, the father, played by Isaac. We see that, as he says, you've done enough already. The fact that you are my son is enough for me. But then we see him at other points, the way he interacts with these people that he's been sent to rule. He doesn't go there as a tyrant. He wants to kind of negotiate. He wants to do it on their terms as much as possible. And there are times when he puts himself in danger to make sure they stay safe. And so obviously that makes you warm to him all the more. It makes you care for him. There are a few characters in here actually that I do grow to care about, and not all of them get out alive, must be said. This is a film about warring factions, things like that, so there are certain characters that don't come out of this alive, and I gotta say, when it happens, when various people get taken out, I felt it. So again, great job on the character front, on the way it's directed, the performances, all that. It's just, absolutely fantastic stuff. Like I say, I can't fault this film really. If I was stretching, if I was really stretching, I would say there are times, and I find this a lot with movies that have visions in. When you have movies where the main character sees things in a vision and they keep going back to it, I would say sometimes that it feels like they go back to it too many times. Again, that's stretching. It's like, I always want to be in the here and now. When you have visions of the future, it's just like keep them short and keep them few. But again, it really is a stretch. There's one particular scene. Now I have a condition, misophonia. It means certain sounds really mess with my head. One of those is the sound of people chewing, and there's a scene in this film when this character played by Stellan Skarsgård, he's just a monstrous character. Now I don't remember the actor who played him, but in the 80s version, again, in that he was a really monstrous character, just ugly to look at, ugly to listen to, personalities just, this guy's just vomit with legs. It's like there's a moment when he's grilling a particular character, and like the fat, overstuffed emperor of Rome or whatever, of Greece, he's munching down all this food, and just the sound of that nearly made me get up out of my seat and walk out, because that's how much it drives me crazy. It's not the first time Villeneuve's done that, to be honest. For anyone who's seen his short film, I can't remember the name of that, but he made a short film in which that's literally all it is people eating, and it drove me insane. It was like torture. But again, they're the kind of things I have to find in this film as negatives in order for me to be able to criticise it in that kind of way. And who wants to do that unless something's glaringly, narratively bad, something like that? I don't want to find those things, because why? Why would you do that? This film is as perfect as a film can be. Now, I've only seen it the once. I'm not immune to being the kind of guy who, has seen a film, got really hyped about it, given it a 5-star review, and then regretted it later. Hashtag Justice League. But no, I loved this. I loved Blade Runner 2049. It's one of my favourite films. So given that we're in very similar territory, and I feel very similar on my first viewing to this as I did with Blade Runner 2049, I can only imagine this film's going to get better for me on repeat viewings. I'm going to give it a 5-star review. 5 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Have you seen Dune? Do you want to see a sequel? What did you think about it? Leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching this video. And until next time, cracking.